Manifestation of the unresponsive guides. These are the visions of the unresponsive guides, immediately following the visions of the friendly guides. I must remember that I can achieve liberation at any moment just by the power of recognition, penetrating through these visions into the clear light, from which they have come and back to which they shall return, at the moment that I am able to recognize them as products of my own consciousness and imagination. Through powerful attachments, dense occlusions, and negative emotional habits, tendencies which have been in force for a very long time during my latest exposure to lower dimensional animal bodies, especially human primates. Although confronted with the full impact of reality in all its wealth of presence and immense detail, I find myself engulfed in the inexorably compelling and magnetically seductive descending spiral path. The next phase in this descent will be continued unwinding or unraveling of consciousness, going backward from the sequence in which it had accumulated in the human primate consciousness, but now at a far more accelerated pace, which means that the visions are going to continue, but at a more intense and discomforting level. After gathering energy, the storm which has let up for the moment is about to resume again at its fullest fury. I must remember that these visions are exactly the same as those which passed before, because I'm voyaging through the same domains as in I'll give that to you again. I must remember that these visions are exactly the same as those which passed before, because I'm voyaging through the same domains as in the previous pass, but the aspects of these visions will change somewhat, due to the increased momentum of the unraveling process, as well as the fact that I'm viewing them from a much lower energy level in relation to the level on which I saw them before. But even though they may seem different to me now, I know that these are the same domains as before, and that nothing is going to happen to me that hasn't happened before. And yet, here I am to tell the tale. Because these visions are all just the reflections of my own fear and fascination, they are more resistant to disillusion through the power of recognition. To reduce their power to overwhelm, all I need do is invoke within myself the highest possible attention and presence, and at the same time recognize all visions other than the pure, clear light of the void as projections of my own deep consciousness. If I can accept the visions and sensations of the macro dimensions without resistance, even though there may still be fear and confusion, knowing that all apparitions, sounds, lights, and radiations are projections of my own consciousness, that they are in reality no more than swirling patterns in the living energy field of infinite light, then they can have no power to overwhelm me. My aim should be to achieve immediate spontaneous transition into the highest possible dimension, complete and stable transition into the pure, undifferentiated presence of the living void, or at worst, conscious rebirth within the body of the teaching. I remember from my previous experiences in the macro dimensions that this is one of those times when I'm not going to be able to take a moment's rest, because no sooner does one change cease than another begins. And since the space is eternal, there's no time flow, and therefore no end to it except by upscaling or downscaling through the macro-dimensional levels. In a very short time, the changes may be too compelling, too fascinating not to watch, and my attention could, if I lose the intensity and force of my attention even for a single moment, become enraptured and fall quickly and deeply into the bottomless well of apparent reality. However, rather than trying to withdraw my attention, I know from previous experience in the labyrinth to use it, and even to intensify it, to penetrate the visions, diffusing them once again into the smooth, swirling patterns of the clear light to which they belong. I allow all feelings of fear to pass through me, merging with all visions, liberating myself from the apparitions and entrapments of the lower dimensions. When the visages and emotional auras of the unresponsive guides are superimposed upon the beloved, I must remember to recognize them as my own projections and not to view these face changes as foreboding evil, danger, or antagonism. If I react in repulsion, I may find it difficult or impossible to blend my own energy field with that of the beloved. But if I'm able to merge with the guide at this point, I should be able to thus liberate myself from the endless action-reaction game maintained by our opposing and unblending vibrations. Recognizing the clear light even now during these visions of the unresponsive guides as they play across the face of the beloved, ensures that even if I do happen to descend into the lower dimensions, I will be born into the teaching in the next rebirth. If I can manage to awaken my attention and can accept the full reality of the macro dimensions, the divine state of liberation to dawn upon me as the cycle of death and rebirth is broken. I will then have in my own power the option to return voluntarily to the human dimension in the awakened state, there to labor for the benefit of the Absolute. Should recognition be delayed even momentarily, a partial awakening but not the full, unclouded realization of the unshrouded clear light is attained. But even with a partial awakening, I will be reborn on a macro-dimensional level and soon will be brought once again into the study of labyrinth voyaging, from the precise point that the study was interrupted in the previous organic world sojourn. So then, this is a method for entering into liberation, guided by the sound of the readings toward the pure, clear, almost invisible dissolving radiations which burn away the habits of the organic world, which still may cling to me after my journey in the material world, and which cleansing allows me to then take the secret path. The method for macro-dimensional voyaging, combined with the invocations of power and the confrontations, will help me to voyage with the fullest possible attention, producing the greatest possible waking state, the least occlusion of the whole of reality, and the least possible resistance to liberation. So now I am prepared for my first confrontation with the unresponsive guides of the labyrinth as their visages play over the face of the eternal beloved.